Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Masterclass Football podcast. This is all about player-coach relationships. Going to speak a little bit on my experiences, what stands out for me as a coach, as a player, my experience kind of led to playing into my coaching career. So the first thing is about being a coach. You want to build a safe space for your players. You want the game to be played in a peaceful environment. In everyday training, practice, you want your players to feel safe. You want them to feel like they can think clearly and just follow their intuition to bring out the best version of themselves on the field. If you're a coach that is trying to control and gets angry and doesn't really allow your players to be themselves fully, then you're going to run into a lot of problems with your players. The biggest thing I see with coaches is that they make it about themselves instead of their players. And they look to get their players to kind of see them as the objective of where their success lies. And it does not lie in the coach. Their success lies in their ability, of course, and their critical thinking and their understanding of what's going on in each match and being able to problem solve and create opportunities for themselves and their teammates to win the game ultimately, but to play the game at the highest level that they can. That's what matters the most, not winning, but playing at a high level and progressing, evolving on the field. Growing up, my dad was my coach. There was a lot of good in that. There was also a lot of challenges in that. I then moved to a Colombian coach who knew the game. He played the game at a high level. And sadly, adults being adults and egos getting involved, that team split up when we were the best team in Philadelphia at our age and also competed with top teams in the state at a high level in Pennsylvania. When I was 12, turning 13, the team disbanded. I moved to Jersey. The level dropped tremendously. The coaching level dropped tremendously. The passion, all the things. And yeah, it really hurt me as a player. Growing up with the coach that I had, shout out to Eduardo. I learned skills. I learned passion and culture. And, moving into a suburban town outside of the city in New Jersey, there was no culture. There was no depth or passion really that I found. And it led into high school and all these things where I had a high school coach who didn't know the game, didn't understand the game, didn't know how to lead, and ultimately made it about him. But me and my buddies, by my senior year, were able to win a sectional championship because I brought a lot of culture to the team, and we had some guys that were cultured into the game, which was great. Anyway, I'm not going to go too deep into that. shit show. But college came along, and there was culture around me, but it was like a very harsh place, where it was kind of dog eat dog type competition within our team. There wasn't much camaraderie in that regard of team play. I mean, we partied together, but there was a lot of unsaid and untold hate on our team and dislike for each other. And of course, you know, when it comes to competing for spots, this is going to happen. I'm not saying it has to be this like perfect situation, but there was never a culture that was created that felt like an understanding between the coaches and players. It was more like look to them when they didn't really know where they were looking, other than to this, you know, superiority complex of understanding the game when they, in my opinion, didn't. And still, the players prevailed. You know, even in this environment, we won 2 championships at the college level in our conference. We lost in the first round of the NCAAs my senior year. And, you know, that was good enough for what our coaches were. And I was, you know, going through a lot of growing pains as a human. And yeah, never really felt like I could express myself or be myself without the people around me wanting to attack that. And, you know, this is also part of growing up and being around people who are finding themselves, you know, competing with each other, all these things. And it was a professional environment to a strong degree. It wasn't a very cultured football environment when it came to the coaches, but the players, a lot of the players had football culture, and I feel like we didn't really get to, nobody really fully felt that expression. I feel like there was more of like cliques and, you know, this separation from creating a culture together and bringing our cultures together, or our understanding of what our knowledge was together. There wasn't that togetherness in depth in college. And the training was high level. It was definitely professional training, but yeah, it didn't really, like, looking back, I'm not impressed with what I received, you know, and what I gave as well. I didn't give nearly as much as I should have, but I also had a lot of health issues and these mental health issues that I will talk about more, the importance of getting help in these regards that affect your game as well. But this is a podcast. I'm just ranting a little bit. I'm enjoying the process of talking here with you, talking about the game and my experience. So, and this is pretty quick. Maybe I'll go into more detail in the future. So, yeah. The next piece is, you know, really stepping into coaching. I coached high school girls, I coached high school boys teams, and I really succeeded. I mean, I won a sectional title with Pittman Girls High School as an assistant, but I led that team to victory. And, you know, playing at Pittman High School, it was a cool thing to then win as a coach, a sectional title after playing. And what I really did was just motivate the players, help them to believe in themselves, because, you know, most players have skill, you know, whatever sport they play. It's just, can they bring that out consistently? And so that was always my goal, was to just bring it out of players consistently, and to not, like, you know, make it about myself, or like like just make it about them and their team, bond to create a championship or to, you know, overcome that adversity of, yeah, they were the 10 seed when we went into playoffs, and then I was able to really focus with them because I was the JV coach, and playoffs came as the 10 seed and I was at every game, and they were good enough and I was good enough to go on a run and to upset the top 4 seeds and win a championship. So very cool happening there. And then I got a job assisting at Glassboro High School, and we made it to the final. I was the assistant, but the head coach, to me, didn't really know the game, didn't really understand the assignment, but I think a lot of my energy wore off on the players or affected them in a positive way. And I was at all of their practices, I was emotionally showing up for the players. The head coach actually didn't even show up to full practices. And I would drive with the players on the bus to the games. So there was a deep support system that I was giving to these players. And in the games, a lot of motivation and respect. Giving the players respect, but also not letting them walk all over me, right? You have to set boundaries. And things came up with certain players and, they got better. Like our friendship, our relationship got better. It wasn't like this, oh, Coach Ryan, wants to make me feel bad, or if you felt bad, we talked about it, we got through it. And I think that's what I want to talk about more is I'm giving my perspective of things that I went through, and then I'm going to give an overview of what you can do better or what I've learned in all of this. So the team made the final. The coach had a game plan to defend when we had a very powerful attack. We had players that pretty much matched up in every position, mostly with this team that we were playing in the final, who had a game plan on their home field, and it was to throw the ball long and to really take advantage of set pieces. And our coaches, the head coach was saying for the players, and when you're an assistant, you're not in a position to really just take over, because especially when there's ego involved and you're just kind of on the side. But his game plan was to kick the ball out of bounds, far out of bounds, make sure you clear it hot, far and wide, and we're just gonna defend. And it didn't go well. We lost the game 4-0. I mean, it took them a while to get their second goal. They got a first goal, I believe, pretty early in the game. But we had players that were top, they would have been pretty good college players. And, we... If I was coaching that game, I would have believed in my players and not the fear of the other team blowing us out because they're better than us. And that's what ended up happening because we played scared and defensive-minded. And that's this type of coach. He was a very defensive-minded coach and didn't really have good tactics or, understanding of the game, in my opinion. And so then, there was a whole mess with that I was supposed to coach the next year, didn't end up working out. Not on my end. I wanted to coach, but they didn't choose me. And that really hurt me too. But it showed that a lot of soccer, football is politics and ego driven. It's not cultured. It's not understood in America, at least. But I see it even in Europe and in different leagues in the pros where these guys will be coaches based on who they know. It's very political. So, passion. First off, you got to be passionate about what you do, and honesty. You got to be honest about what your level is and like where you're learning and where you're the teacher. So as a coach, and also Masterclass Football Club is what I will be starting when I'm ready. I have other business ventures and things that I am still building. So once I'm ready, I will have a soccer club, and you will hear all about that as well. I had a coach, mentor, when I was a college player. And he loved me. He was from Spain. I forget his name. It was EPYSA, Eastern Pennsylvania, something. Youth Soccer Association. He had me for 2 weeks at this camp. It was a summer camp for players. And he like took me under his wing, and he told even my assistant coach that was there that I didn't like from college, how awesome I was and like how willing I was to learn. And I was humble, I was like, wow, this guy is a soccer legend and he's a coaching legend, and you can feel it. It was like learning from Pep Guardiola. Really, like you felt like, wow, this guy really just knows so much more than me, and like I'm open to learning. I'm open to hearing what this guy has to say, and really built into such a nice friendship, and like I looked up to him. And he gave me so much wisdom and insight. And there was another guy who had a lot of really good stories for me, and he talked about how he traveled across the country and worked with Pele. And he talked about his battle with cancer and all these things. And, God rest his soul. I'm sure he's passed on now. He was in his 70s at the time, I would guess. Awesome guy. And so these two mentors, like in 2 weeks, like changed my whole life. They changed the way that I went about like the game, because they showed me that there are real leaders out there, and there are real people out there who care about people first, and also know what's up and know what they're talking about when it comes to football. And I don't see that a lot. I see a lot of coaches that like think it's cool to be a coach, or that they're like this authoritarian that like you have to, kiss ass to, and that's not it. And I really want players to know, like, be yourself. If your coach isn't like, if you feel like your coach isn't allowing you to be yourself, like voice your opinions, voice your feelings, and make sure that like the problem gets solved. And if it doesn't get solved, you can go to another club. I got a college scholarship, a half scholarship, based on my will to, in my desire to play in college, and that I wouldn't be denied. I ended up going to a weekend soccer camp and play once in front of a guy, and he was like, "Yep, we're definitely taking you." And that was it. And then I got in contact with the head coach. That guy ended up leaving. I wish he would have stayed, because he seemed like a pretty cool dude. I forget his name. But yeah. So I think that coaches really need to learn emotional understanding. What are they there for? What is the purpose? The purpose, of the team. And what do they want to get out of being a coach? Like, if you want like an ego boost, like go to the gym, or whatever. don't get involved with the psychological effects that you can place on a child or your players, teens, even adults. Like, you really want to know, like, your impact as a coach changes someone's life, whether for the better or worse. And you have the power to control that, like, based on your choices. And it's just so important, like, to build a culture of understanding, like, the beauty of football. Also, watching the game. Also, going to, games, professional games, I think is very important. And also bringing the team together as much as you can as a coach and showing them that it's about what they're building together, because they'll never forget those moments. I know I don't forget some of the most beautiful moments that I had in high school and in college. Even though there was a lot of toxic, there was still a lot of beauty. And, the goal as a coach is to create more and more beauty. And that's why we love teams like the 2011 Barcelona team. They brought beauty to the game. They brought depth to the game. They didn't bring, negativity to win. It was more of a focus on expressive nature, and just, like, of course there was a tactic, there was an understanding, there was a depth to what they were doing, but it was more about the beauty of just expressing yourself, my teammate expressing himself, and all of the pieces coming together to create an end goal. And that's what I love so much about the Barcelona club itself, is that, like, compared to Real Madrid, because I feel like there's so much ego in Real Madrid, that it's just important to know what you're building the game for. It's the beauty of it. It's the love of the game. And that's all that matters. The rest of it, is secondary. Winning is awesome. And you will win when you have the right intentions. You want to increase and evolve as well. You want to evolve the game. Like a Pep Guardiola, he chooses to think in new ways and create new pathways for players to understand. That's the greatest coach. He also has relationships with his players. They love him. Some of them don't. They don't get along with him. Maybe he's too much for them. But what I've seen in him is that he knows how to build relationships with his players. He also knows how to expand their thoughts, their understanding, and that's what makes him the greatest coach. So as a player, if you have issues with your coach, if you have issues with your teammates, express these things, talk about these things, and there will be a solution that comes with it. Trust in that solution. Trust that there is a solution, there is an answer that will arrive. And also know that you don't have to settle for, anything that doesn't serve you. So you want to get the most out of your career, then make choices that honor yourself and your career, and focus on building confidence to always voice yourself, and especially your emotions, what you're struggling with, because this will help your coaches as well. And coaches, listen to your players. Their needs are your priority as the coach. Your needs are not their priority, the player's priority. Their needs are your priority, so that you can give them directions on the field. You want to be able to direct them into the right thoughts and emotions off the field, in order to create a safe place for your team, for your players. Thank you guys for listening, and I will go into more depth about whatever it is you guys want to hear. I have some ideas, but also please let me know in the comments what you would like to hear more about. Thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you soon.